For my presentation, I picked the second of the CREDE standards, which is Language and Literacy Development, LLD. I'm Samantha Lindsay, and this class is Educating Exceptional Students. What does LLD mean? The LLD standard, the purpose of this standard is to develop children's competence or capability in the language and literacy of instruction across all areas of the curriculum. Language and literacy development is a primary objective of activity centers and can best be accomplished by providing activities that are rich in language use. During activity centers, the teacher can encourage students' use of first and second languages in instructional activities. They can listen to students talk about familiar topics, such as community or home, assist language and literacy throughout modeling, eliciting, probing, restating, clarifying, questioning, affirming, and praising. And they can encourage students to use content vocabulary to express that they understand. Teachers can promote language and literacy development by creating tasks that generate learners' use of everyday and academic language. At activity centers, students can engage in dialogue with peers and the teacher and use everyday and academic language in extended speaking, reading, and writing activities. This standard can be compared to sports equipment. Look at language as the equipment needed for learning. Just as learning to use sports equipment is critical for effective participation in any sport, students must learn to use language in appropriate contexts. For example, playing ping pong requires knowing how to use a paddle, which is quite different than the way that you would use a racket for tennis. Students must be shown the way language is used in a given context, such as mathematics or science, following specific clues of that context, just as a player must be shown how to use a paddle in ping pong or a racket in tennis. It is important for the teacher to grasp ways to encourage and ensure language and literacy development. You can provide opportunities for children's language use, and you can provide opportunities for them for the language use and literacy development. Children need multiple exposures in words in order to develop a rich understanding of their meaning and use. Teachers should make a point of introducing interesting new words for children to learn into each classroom activity. One way to accomplish this is to present and teach vocabulary thematically. You would organize vocabulary around a common theme and choose reading materials that reinforce that vocabulary and contexts. I prepared a quick example of something, of an activity that would meet those requirements. This story is Clifford at the Circus. So for this activity, I call it a hear it, say it, see it at the circus. Here's a copy of the handout. So hear it, you would recite the circus vocabulary words to the students, which are these vocabulary words. The vocabulary words are animal trainer, clowns, tigers, elephants, cannon, balloon, as in a hot air balloon, lions, costumes, cotton candy, tightrope, and tent. And then after you say it, or after they hear it, you have them say it back to you. You have them recite the words back to you, looking at the vocabulary. Then you read the story to them. And for see it, you pick out the vocabulary words throughout the story as you're reading it. So if this was the page that we were on, I'd read, the next act was the human cannonball. She didn't have any gunpowder for her cannon, so Clifford helped her out. So our vocabulary word for that would be cannon. And it has a picture, so it's a nice way to get them familiar with the word in context. Another thing that you can do as a teacher is design activities with the focus on language and literacy development. For this activity, I presented this activity to my twins who are 4.5 years old. They attend a special ed preschool 4 days a week, so they are familiar with the classroom setting, and they were the perfect little participants for this activity. So I read aloud the Bear Sees Colors book. After each page that talks about a color, write down the color on a large piece of paper and list the colored items. Now it's kind of hard to see back here behind me on the on this video. I apologize for that, but there's a photo on the PowerPoint of the white piece of paper that we used for it, which is also behind me. So what we did is we sat down, as you can see, and read the story to them, and then on each page that had a color, talked about like red here, we then wrote red down on our paper. And we listed things that were read either in the story or things that they thought of that were read after we listed the things that were in the story. So like our red list is red flowers, berries, elf on the shelf because he's got a red suit, leaves, mom's jacket because as you can see in the photo my jacket was red at the time, and tomato. So this is a good way to work on this is a really fun activity that helps language and literacy development that is really interactive with the kiddos too, that they would like, and my girls loved it. Other ways that a teacher can encourage language and literacy development include respond to students' talk and questions, making in-flight changes during conversation that directly relate to the students' comments. You can model appropriate language for the academic content. You can provide frequent opportunity for the students to interact with each other and the teacher during instructional activities. You can interact with students in ways that respect students' preference for speaking, such as wait time, eye contact, turn taking, or spotlighting. You can connect students' language with literacy and content area knowledge through speaking, listening, reading, and writing activities. And you can also assist with language expression and literacy development and encourage their discussion on the academic topic. What is the importance of language and literacy development? Developing competence in the language of instruction should be a meta goal, which is the general nature of the outcome being pursued. It should be that goal of all educational activity throughout the school day. Literacy is the most fundamental competency necessary for school success. So without those literacy and language building blocks, you know, it's going to be harder for them to have that success in their school career. Oops, sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm wrapping up my presentation on language and literacy development with some infographics that I wanted to share. I know that all of the CREDE standards are important, but I thought that these couple of infographics really did a good job of expressing the specific importance of language and literacy development. They're informative and help reiterate why this particular standard is important. The first 3 years of exploring and playing with books, singing nursery rhymes, and listening to stories, recognizing words, and scribbling out are truly the building blocks for language and literacy development. To me, what this is saying is that, you know, it doesn't have to just be sitting and reading from a book, you know, it's the singing together, it's, you know, then listening to us read stories, or even if it's just a magazine article or a newspaper article. You read to them the menu, you can read it, I mean, everything has words. Those are the building blocks for their language and literacy development, which, like we discussed, is, you know, essential for school success. And it starts, you know, so young for the kiddos, getting those building blocks in place. Children's books have 30 rare words per 1,000, while the typical conversation between an adult and a 3-year-old only contains 9 words per 1,000. So those books are so important for kiddos. Reading them to them, you know, it's going to give them so much more access to words that they would never have if it was just up to, you know, a conversation back and forth. Neuroscience research shows that very Young children learn best via a two-way communication. So your talk time between caregiver and child, be it a teacher, a parent, grandparents, remains critical for language development. And I think that what we've kind of covered here is that language development starts early. Language development is necessary for school, and so you have to make sure that you instill this talk time throughout your day. Talk to them about, if you're doing a diaper change, I remember, they always said, talk to them through your diaper change as if, they're completely unaware of what's going on, because talking to them helps build. And there's so much that you can talk about. You can talk about on a walk, what you see outside. You can talk about, what you have for dinner, what you disliked about your day. You just got to make sure that you keep that talk way up, because it's very critical for their development. And that sums up my presentation. I hope that you learned a little bit, and I enjoyed learning about it and look forward to pursuing ways to work on this even with my own children. Thank you.